another episode of Parentpreneur, the podcast that takes you on a journey into a dynamic world of those remarkable individuals who are mastering the art of being both entrepreneurs and parents. We believe that success isn't limited to the boardroom or at home. It's about finding harmony in both. In this episode, we sit down with an inspiring guest who share their stories, strategies, and insights on how they've successfully balanced their roles as parentpreneurs. Whether they're moms, dads, or couples working together, their experiences offer a wealth of knowledge that can benefit us all. So, if you're seeking wisdom on a time management, building legacy, or just simply finding an elusive work life balance, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore inspiring stories and practices, tips of parentpreneurs who are navigating success in both their business and families. Today, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Yvette. We connected a little bit last week and we spoke a little bit about like what we're doing or, just shared life stories, which I really enjoy when I talk to new people or investors or really just networking with anybody. It gave me some insights, a little bit of insights about who she is and what is important to her. So I'm really glad she came on here with me to be able to talk a little bit about that. As always, I am your host, Betsy Rodas, and I'm very glad you're here today with us.
Well, thank you so much, Betsy. I really appreciate you asking me to come on. It's an honor and privilege, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you. So, let's get into it. Who is Yvette? What do you do? What are you doing? How does your life look like right now?
Oh, wow, that's a lot. But I'll get started with saying that ever since I was a little girl, I watched my dad build a portfolio of businesses and real estate. And so he kind of is the one who has inspired me. I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but when I started having babies 25 years ago, I knew I wanted to give all of my time to my family, and my children were what came first. My marriage came first. And so I kind of put sort of the career and the corporate on the back burner because I didn't want to miss out on all that family life had to offer. And just watching the kids grow was important to me, making sure that, I was guiding them in the right direction. And so that journey kind of evolved into homeschooling. And then eventually, as the older ones got into high school, I began teaching in their private school so that I can offset some tuition cost. But that was kind of like my theory behind it, going to teach, being still a part of their school, part of the community that we were in at that time and in that season. And flash forward. I basically, my husband relocated from Florida to Georgia due to a job opportunity. We came along as a family. My children the older ones were here already at school. But what I decided to do was kind of take a pause from actually teaching and found out that I was pretty fatigued. I had given up so much of my valuable time to teaching. And please understand, I love teaching. I love being in the classroom. But at home, I found out that I was giving up so much more time in just the preparation that it took to actually have those, the time that I spent at school was actually like 10x at home just preparing. And so I found like I needed to take a step back and just reevaluate what I wanted to do. And so I decided I was going to take this journey into real estate investing, and it's in my genes. So I figured, okay, why not? Right. And I have loved every minute of the self discovery I have had up until now.
Wow, that's amazing. So, when did you start realize? Well, when was it? What was the time frame of this when you were like, oh, real estate's what I want to do?
So obviously, we all went through COVID, and I was in the middle of COVID and actually teaching. So that latter part, we had to transition, and we were doing a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of Zoom teaching, and that was very difficult, just because, being a teacher, you want to interact with the students, and it's just not the same as being in the classroom, tangibly talking to students, tangibly experiencing some of the dynamics just different interactions that can take place within a school environment. So we moved in the better part of 2021, and that at that point is where I kind of took the time to rest. And somehow in the midst of saying, okay, I need to do something, my youngest is still, we're still homeschooling, but she doesn't need me as much. So we do a hybrid sort of education where she does get some of those subjects that I don't do very well, which like lab science and stuff. I'm more of the, literature and yeah, writing. So that part we give it to somebody who is an expert, right, and can train and teach on that. And then I just bring her at home and we do the other kind of subjects that I'm more familiar with, that I feel that I can, be able to provide a good education for her. But when we moved, like I said, I took a time to rest, and which was very good for me, health wise, emotionally, socially, everything. But at the same time, also knew that at some point I needed to get back into sort of doing something, right? And that's when I took the avenue. I came across something that was teaching, on real estate investing, and I took a leap. But it wasn't until I think the middle part of 2022 where I said I really actively want to now I've done enough kind of like educating myself a little bit on this. I just need to take the action and do that. So that's what I've been doing, on focusing on speaking to motivated sellers that are either in need due to, a pre-foreclosure. They might have inherited a property that they don't want to, deal with. So people who are in financial, have financial struggles, they might have had a loss in employment, and that is kind of like a burden right now financially for them. So I help to connect sort of the motivated seller to the buyers, and it's been going great.
That's amazing. How are you finding that balance, sort of say, like from your life and finding those people who are in need and need that extra help? How are you finding that balance between both?
Yeah, Betsy, that's a really great question, because I think as entrepreneurs, while when we're beginning that journey, it can be a little bit daunting as far as what time do you invest, how much time, what do you give? And we know that not everybody, can adhere to your time constraints, because if somebody's in a dire need, you need to just act quickly, right? But what I have found is, the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that you have that freedom of time, right? That you can set your own hours, that you're in control of the spaces that you kind of give way. And as somebody who has a priority, and really prioritize my family time, I have found that, we homeschool in the very early morning. And after that, the time that I can dedicate to speaking to customers or motivated sellers or just even buyers is between that mid morning and mid afternoon. And then I'm back to being, mom. It's like switching hats, right? So
Yeah.
but at the same time, that things bleed into, whether your home life bleeds into your real estate investing side of it, or whether your real estate investing bleeds into your family time. And so just learning to just kind of know that, you're in control of your schedule. Obviously things come up and there are exceptions, right? But for the most part, your priorities are your priorities. And if you could put those good boundaries along those sort of time periods that you're going to dedicate to calls, then that makes it all the more beautiful, because you know that you can always just kind of hang up your hat at that ending time, and then you're mom again, right?
Yeah. That's so true. Well, what are some things that you took from being a mom and just wearing all the hats at home to your business? What are things that you learned there that you're taking to your business now?
That's another really great question. I think one of the things is discipline, right? When we're disciplined to do things, even when we don't want to do them. Um, Whereas, as a mom, there's time for laundry, right? There's always time for, uh, making your bed in the morning. I find
Yeah.
that if, it's so much easier not to do your bed, right? Not to tidy it up, not to make your bedroom feel nice and tidy. But I found that discipline is a big issue. And so we're not consistent with maybe perhaps a time that we get up in the morning, the little things like the little chores of just tidying up the living room space, tidying up the bedroom space, putting the books back where they need to go. Those things as a mom are just as important that you can take back to your real estate investing side of it, whether you're a real estate investor or whether you have a business. That can be anything, right? There are set times and set little things. Does it mean that you make calls at a set time even though you don't want to make the calls? Yeah, that's a discipline, right? Is it, data entry? Is it filling up your calendar and planning your calendar for the week and how your week is going to go? Those are just tiny little things, and it's like the little foxes that spoil the vine. If you don't get those little things done, eventually somehow they creep back in and they just can wreak havoc. So doing something when you don't want to do it is probably one of the best ways to just transition between mom and into the real estate to be successful in both. And it doesn't mean that you're success by, a specific standard. It's a success because you know that when you're doing things in an organized and disciplined fashion, at some point you're going to reap the benefits of those little things that you do.
Yeah, I hear you. And when you're talking about this, it reminds me about consistency, being consistent, and even on the days you don't want to do it, just staying that consistent. And it's very much preached doing it every day, a practice, so that you can become better, 1% better every day. That's so important. And I think it's really important also to teach our kids, by leading by example. And it looks like you're doing that, and a great job at it too.
Well,
So, yeah.
admit I didn't do that perfectly from the beginning, but as you mature in your years at as a woman, or as anybody, would do, you begin to realize that your time is valuable, right? And if you can do the things that put the systems in place, they are going to make for smoother days. So that's perfect. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. I remember when my kids were little, just getting out of the house was like a whole planning thing, and I had to make sure everything went out perfectly and they had their clothes ready. And I had to set a time, like, we're gonna leave at 8. That way we are in the car by 8:30. So yes, I remember those, like, planning and making sure everything is executed well so that your event or project turns out okay is super important.
For sure.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how you prioritize and manage your time.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it just goes back to just that little thing of just planning. It doesn't really matter what planning system you use or what calendar, if it's, electronic or even manual. I'm, in that sense, I'm probably old school. I do love, writing. I love the pen on paper. I love the pencil on paper. As you can tell, I am an educator. So I do love that beautiful aspect of just writing. And so I plan my schedule for the week, sometimes for the month if I know things are coming up further along the month or further along the year. But priority is, taking that time in the morning for myself, having sort of that quiet space where I can read, whether, I'm learning something new or just picking up a book that I've been wanting to read. Exercising is one. I don't always do that perfectly. And I think that's just the part of life, right? Some things you just don't do perfectly, but it's okay. It's just kind of like pick up again the next day and redo what you're supposed to be doing the next day, right? So just taking that time in the morning for myself. So I do wake up a lot earlier. I do wake up by 5:30, and that's just my time for coffee, my time for reading, my time for meditation, my time for just writing and journaling and just planning out the day. If there's specific tasks that I need to prepare for, then that's where I would kind of take care of some of those things. And then, of course, I homeschool. So that'll follow up next, or taking my daughter to school. And then comes, the business aspect. So, yeah, I think the planning and the prioritizing comes, on a weekly basis, as you look ahead, but on a daily basis, as you know that you might have some things that are urgent and you need to take care of right away. And so you do those and you leave the ones that maybe are not so important, just in case you don't do them. It's not a dire, crisis that you have on your hand, right?
Yes, yes. And I have a really good friend who she would every morning she'd be like, these are my big rocks, these are the things that I need to get done today, these are my priority items. So I definitely do take a page from her book and do those things. um that's amazing. It sounds like you're doing a great job with that and just leading by example for your kids. What is a productivity technique that you use in your life to be able to be productive in your business?
Wow, that's really great. And I would definitely say that I love to have a clean counter at the end of the night. So I up with a clean counter, and I think I find that's hard, and I think we need to give grace to each other, especially when we have little ones at home and we are basically trying to get things done. So there's grace, right? There's grace for those seasons where things are hectic, where there's toddlers, where there's you have a baby on your hip all the time. There's grace. So I had many nights where though the kitchen counter was still filled with dishes, and I woke up to a room full of dirty dishes. And over the years, what I have found was I'm a little bit more calmer in the morning when my kitchen counter is clean and things are put away, and I can run the dishwasher. So your dishwasher began to be my best friend, early on, especially when my kids were younger, because it was a way to say, okay, I can offset, this task of washing dishes. And so I would run it every night, and every night it would be run. And in the morning, I found that I was a lot more of a calmer person, woke up more in peace, more tranquil, instead of coming to the dirty dishes, instead of coming to counters that maybe were dirty, because hey, life can be messy, and with kids, it's okay to be messy. Give yourself some grace if you're there, because those seasons pass, and they're very fleeting. And then you're at my stage where you have three out of the house already, and you're wondering, oh, are they going to come back and visit? So enjoy those moments because they do happen. But that is one technique that I found, that the dishwasher was my best friend. And so as much as, if it was that one little thing early on, to waking up and saying, okay, at least my kitchen counters were clean, the dishes were put away, even if they were in the dishwasher, that was a big productivity hack for me.
I love that. I think like a lot of moms or parents, single dads, or just dads that stay at home, understand what you're saying. Like, it's so important. I know for me, like last night, I was just like laying in bed and I with my husband, and he was working on some things, and I was like looking in my head. You know how our like minds are just like working, and I'm over here like, okay, this is all the things I need to get done in the morning before I start my day. And I was like, this is gonna set me back and I'm gonna have less sleep. And
Yeah.
and then I was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything right now and he's working. So I can just get up and get this stuff done and I'll be a much happier person in the morning. And that's true. So true. And something that I've learned recently that you were talking about, like giving yourself grace, it's very difficult. Something. It's not an easy task for you to be able to give yourself some grace and know that everything. I think that we want in our nature, we want to do everything at 100%. We want everything to be perfect, but just knowing that everything's not going to be perfect and you're not going to be 100% there or not give 100% or maybe even fail at some of your tasks. It's just prioritizing which ones are the ones which you will not fail and leaving the other ones and being like, it's okay if I don't do 100% on these items. Um, I love it. I love it. It's definitely a journey that I've learned personally in my own life. I love that you're sharing this with us because it's so important. um, I think it's like one of the biggest things that as a mom I've learned personally.
Let's see if I could just add one thing,
Yeah.
just speaking as a mom, that, mom of four with, 25, 20, wait, 25, 23, 20, and 15. It's fleeting. And the seasons that you're in when you're early on, one of the things that I wish I would have learned early on was in the midst of all that craziness at home, right, with kids and chauffeuring them different places and, mom, I need this, or mom, I'm hungry, or whatever it is to really stop and look into their eyes. I think sometimes we go about our day and everything is just happening all around us, and it can be chaotic sometimes. And, it's just, again, it's life, right? But taking the time to just look into their eyes and just be present in every moment, because tomorrow's not ever promised to any one of us. And so just the fact that, they grow so quickly, the seasons change, the time periods change, and now we're having adult conversations with our older ones, and it's not the same little children anymore that needed you. And so just stopping and just being present and looking into their eyes is such a sweet experience that I'm thankful I learned that early on. But there were moments where it got so crazy that if I look back, I can remember those moments where I was just too busy doing, whether it was the cleaning, the laundry, or, something else at home, that I didn't have time to stop and hear the silly little stories that they would talk about. Right. So that's just something I would think of to just encourage everybody.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's definitely the reason why I started this podcast. It's so fleeting. It's something that I look back. I mean, I was looking at videos over the weekend of my kids as babies, and I was like, oh my God, like I remember that. That wasn't even that long ago.
Absolutely.
Um, and I want us to be able to take the best advantage of the people around us and what they've done in their own lives so that we can replicate it or even like make it better with our own life and our own children, because it's so sad to see kids that are older that don't want to get into business that their parents are into, or like be an entrepreneur, because they're just like, my parents never had time for me, they were always working, like that's not the kind of life I want to live. And I believe that we can have both. I believe that we can have a very good relationship with our children, a very intentional relationship with our children, spend time with them, tell them, let them know that we are here for them, be very present in their lives and everything that they do, but also be successful in business and just build wealth together. I think it's, for me, the power of partnerships. That's what I've been utilizing since I can't do it all.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think you gave amazing things, and I know it's something that I'm learning and struggling with too. Yeah.
But there's grace for that, right? And as we learn as we grow, and sometimes we fail forward, but we're progressing and we're growing just alongside of them too, right? No, they're not born with a manual, right? So
Yes, that's so true. Learning every day. I always take um that line, learning every day. I'm a student of life.
yes, absolutely.
Yes. So talk a little bit about like building a legacy for a lasting legacy for the future. Like how does that look like for you and for your kids now that they're older?
Another fantastic question, Betsy. So I'm a believer. So my faith is very important to me, and that is first and foremost for our family. Is that in all things we continually point them to the one true God that sustains, and He's a creator, the sustainer, the one who provides.
Amen.
So as a lasting legacy, that is first most. And secondly, I would say making sure that our family bonds are strong, because um, I'm a first generation Cuban American here in the United States, and while my father, build a generational wealth by building his portfolio, I see that that's important as I teach my children, life skills. And as an educator, I believe literature is important, math is important, history is important, science is important. But more than anything, it's the life skills that are going to sustain them over the course of their life. We want to just help guide them as they become um, uh, good citizens, right? Wherever they are. They can be in another country. It doesn't matter, that they are good citizens of where they are, that we're good, that they're good stewards of everything that they've been given. And so that we just do that by just instilling, faith, helping them grow in those areas, having great conversations where, we can talk about everything and anything in life, right? And still guide them and still point them. And thankful that we have children that are still willing to listen to their parents, right? Even as they age. So those are kind of like my pillars right there. It's like the faith is at the top of the list.
I love that. Super important. I also am a believer in, and it's just everything. I feel like everything, every little thing that you do and you teach and you're ingraining your children is so important for them to become those successful adults in life. And success, right, for me is not having a bunch of money or not, creating wealth for the future generations, even though that is success in a way. I think that for me, if I see my kids as good stewards in their life, of their time, of their faith, of how they treat other people, and just bringing that value everywhere they go. Um, and that for me, that is success, right? I'm gonna be the happiest mom when I see my kids out there doing life with other people and just being those giving, God fearful um, sons and daughters that I hope I raise
Yeah.
well.
You're doing a great job, Betsy.
Oh, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. This topic is super dear to my heart. So thank you for talking to me about it a little bit. What would be an advice that you could give someone, maybe starting like a new mom or someone who wants to get into business and also doesn't want to risk losing their kids just because they want to go at this 100%?
Okay, so if I understand your question, what is an advice to give a new mom, perhaps, that wants to fully engage in the business endeavor, and not and still stay intentional with their children, right?
Yeah.
So I think first most is to just make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. You want to go in business, and you have every right. And this is the beauty of just following passions and following interests that are near and dear to you. I would just say, make sure it's the right season, right? Because sometimes our families can demand so much more of our time, but it's just a season, and it's a short season. It might be temporary. That would be my first, is just evaluate really if it's a correct season. And secondly, there's nothing to stop you as a woman, as a man. There's nothing to stop you really from just pursuing passions and intentions. Just know that those little people are always looking at you, and it's not always what you say, but it's what you're doing that is probably the most impactful for them, because they're little sponges, and they'll pick up on everything that we do and say, even if we're not actually saying it with our mouths. They will pick up on some things. So, and then just give yourself grace. Give yourself grace in the midst of a messy life, because it's just who we are as human beings, and we're growing, and they're growing, and just as they stumble, we stumble too. So grace is probably at the top of the list.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. You shared some really amazing tips. It's something I know I'm definitely still learning, or things that I've recently just been like, wow, like this is what I'm dealing with. This is exactly what I want other people to know. So thank you so much. Thank you so, it really, really means so much that you're talking about this with me today, and we're able to share this with the rest of the parents out there, parentpreneurs out there.
Thank you so much, Betsy, for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to continue conversations with you.
Yes, I look forward to it too. So, what is something that our viewers can help you with? What is something that you need right now in your business or in life that maybe we can help?
Oh, that sounds great. One of the things that I'm looking for is just meeting new people. So I am a connector, and I would love just the opportunity to build relationships, and relationships that we can just continue growing in as well. I'm looking to find buyers, investors. I'm looking to find motivated sellers. So if you're in need of, offsetting your home, or are you looking to buy, I would love to connect with you, and you can reach me at 407-409-2165, or you can shoot me an email at Yvette, Yvette, at cedarandhome.com.
Thank you so much. That was actually going to be my next question. Where can they connect with you?
Perfect.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you guys are here and you guys are just like me, trying to better find a balance between life and work and entrepreneurship, and just wearing all the hats, holding everything in your hands, we want you to know that you are not alone. We feel you. We understand what you're going through, and we want to help. So I hope this episode gave you some insights and tips on how to better manage your time and be more intentional and give yourself grace. You guys, thank you so much for being here. We hope that this episode helped you navigate life and business successfully. See you guys next time.
I hope you like it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye.